Hey, LarkenRose here. I'm going to do one of these videos where I do a short version for YouTube and then get more in-depth on the Rose channel. This is one I hesitate to do, and the topic of the video is actually why I hesitate to do it. It has to do with the obnoxious drama and the counterproductive, just toxic stupidity in a lot of the movement. And of course, if you say the freedom movement, that includes a gazillion people, including like the coolest people I know. A lot of really cool people and really smart people, like actually doing things to make the world a better place. So I don't want to paint the movement with a big broad brush. But there are lots of people who describe themselves as pro-freedom and think of themselves as pro-freedom, and not only do they not do a good job of spreading the message, but they are literally the biggest obstacle to those of us actually trying to accomplish something worthwhile. And I'm going to talk about my own experience. I know a lot of other people have had similar experiences. I'm not going to name names in the YouTube version because I don't care about the stupid drama, but it's important to understand what's going on and why, for your own sanity and also for the sake of understanding the truth and like what are we up against to try to get the world to give up statism, because it's very easy to look at the movement and say, if this is the best we can do with like voluntarists and anarchists, are we sort of doomed? Because a bunch of this is a mess. And I talked about that when the anarchists came out on HBO, and a number of people complained like that was a hit piece. It's like, no, it wasn't. They told the most interesting parts of a story that actually happened. And if you're saying, well, they were trying to make us look bad, what us? Like, the us, if by us you're describing all anarchists, we are the ones who made us look bad. And to not understand why can make you very frustrated. If you like have hope in humanity and you just learned about the concepts of like self-ownership and non-aggression and you're like, rah, 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 this is great. And then you like go to an event or something, or you start chatting in groups and you find a bunch of like unstable people who are sort of nasty and delusional and stuff, it's easy to get frustrated. And so I'm going to talk about some of the drama, not to make you feel more frustrated, but just to have people understand what's going on and to have people understand why. And I'll actually start with the why because I've explained that before. Any movement or organization or idea that is outside of the mainstream is going to have more than its fair share of freaks and weirdos. And I've described why on many occasions. If the status quo and going with the flow serves somebody well, like they're prosperous and they're happy and they're doing okay the way things are in the status quo, those aren't the people who are going to doubt it or speak out against it. It's the people who aren't doing well in the status quo. Well, a lot of times that includes people who aren't doing well, partly because of injustices in the status quo, and partly because those people sort of cause problems because they have problems and are messed up, and some are just sort of accidentally self-destructive. Some are genuinely malicious and toxic and fun stuff like that. But that's why I say statism is going to fall largely in spite of the movement rather than because of it. And so I've personally, since I've been a voluntarist for 28 years now, I've gotten way more friction and just overt hatred and slander flung at me and spread about me and sabotage of what I'm trying to do, and misrepresentation and spreading gossip that isn't true. I've gotten way more of that from people who call themselves pro-freedom than from all the statists in the world combined. Which, if you think about it, it's kind of funny, since I'm telling 99% of the world, well, maybe not that bad anymore, but the vast majority of people still believe in government, and I'm telling them your belief system is fundamentally screwed up and immoral and destructive and all that, and yet I still receive more hate and more friction and more problems from people who pretend to be pro-freedom than I do from the people whose belief system I'm like undermining and insulting on a daily basis. So, now, if somebody, I'm not talking about friction like people disagreeing with me philosophically, like bring that on. By all means, disagree all you want, argue with whatever I say, argue with what anybody says. I'm not talking about like actual disagreements of principles or ideas. I think that's a good thing. In fact, some people complain like, can't we all just get along and just ignore our disagreements? Well, if they're philosophical, not really. Like, if we don't sort it out and talk about them and try to understand the principles better, then we don't even know what we're pushing for. It's sort of like, let's pretend to be friends so we can all push for some vague thing that none of us really knows what it is. So I'm all in favor of a lot of discussions being disagreements and philosophical arguments. I'm not talking about that at all. Like, you can do as much as you want about that, and I'll respond, and we'll, argue stuff. That's fine. I'm talking about basically personal, psychological, like sabotage and malice and all sorts of stuff like that. So there are totally a bunch of basically me-hating cliques out there who get together and say how much they hate Larkin. It's such a blah, blah. And it's funny, and a lot of people I know have seen that, and they mention it to me, and they're like, it's weird, because I asked them why, thinking there might be some substantive thing, if not some philosophical difference, at least, well, did he, like, actually do something bad? And these people I know who see this going on, because usually it's going on behind my back, because most of them don't have the spine to say it to my face, these people who see that and get back to me are like, they can't even say what they're mad about or what they don't like, which is really weird. Yeah, and that's why it's important to understand the psychology. This is no more advanced and no more complex than the little cliques in high school or grade school of, oh, that's the cool kids. They don't like these kids. It's this juvenile, stupid little personality thing. Like, I don't give a damn what you think of my personality. Like, if you disagree with the ideas I say, disagree with that. If you have tantrums at me personally, I'm not trying to be your master, and I'm not trying to win a popularity contest. So if you don't like me, fine. But it isn't just people saying, well, I think he's right about this or wrong about this, but I don't like him personally. Like, if you do that, fine. And I know some people do that. That's fine. I don't really care. It's the people who get malicious and vindictive for no reason. And by the way, this is not at all unique to me. My audience, while it may be significant compared to some random person, compared to a zillion people, my audience is nothing. But people who are famous for, like, actually famous, whether it's rock stars or actors and actresses or whatever, the reason it's a multi-billion-dollar industry to have these tabloids trying to tear them down is because bitter, little, insecure people love to see other people torn down, regardless of, like, whether there was any reason to hate them. Like, why do you just randomly have to resent somebody for their success? That's weird, and it says way more about you than it does about them. But there are those people, and there are plenty of those people in the movement. And so there's a lot of things they do that are, it isn't just a matter of, oh, they're being mean to me, like, whoop-de-doo, I don't care, but they're literally getting in the way of the truth. What they're doing is 100% counterproductive and destructive to what I'm trying to accomplish. Not just to me personally, because who cares? But one huge example is the vast majority of people who, like, zealously, bitterly condemn me absolutely misrepresent what it is I say and what I believe. And then they argue against that. So they do the straw man thing. And instead of like arguing with me where I can point out, yeah, that's not what I say, and I'm actually arguing this. They use that to do stuff behind my back, and again, not just me. They do this to people all over the place, behind my back. Yeah, he like a very popular one I've seen among a bunch of idiots is, yeah, Larkin believes that if you just ignore government, it disappears and it won't do anything to you. I've only explained about 8 billion times that if one person or 100 people don't believe in government authority and ignore it, they'll probably get tanks in their living rooms. And I explained 80 billion times when enough people, like millions and millions of people, say we're not going along with this, we're not going to pay attention to your commands, and we're not going to pay tribute to you, and by way of taxes, it falls over. But they drastically misrepresent that to make it sound silly so they can have their little clique and say how dumb it is, which is 100% intellectually dishonest. Like, if I criticize somebody for a position and I find out that isn't their position, I don't keep criticizing them for a position they don't have. These jackasses do, and they do it a lot of different ways. And it's, I mean, you can see the bitterness. One of the funniest things was the Gene Jackatarian label that a bunch of alt-right, bitter, insecure dumbasses threw at me, because there's a picture of me in literally a light blue flannel shirt that isn't, it's not denim at all, but it became a running thing. Gene Jackatarian. First of all, factually wrong. Second of all, so mature. Third of all, so substantive a condemnation. Like, well, if I did wear denim jackets, then obviously I'd be horrible and I should be like, what a stupid insult. And you couldn't even get the stupid insult right. And then a friend of mine literally made me a denim jean jacket that says Jean Jackatarian on the back of it, which is the only jeans jacket I've owned in the last 40 years. So, but that shows the level of mentality, and that they're driven by just bitterness or envy or just the dumb clique dynamic of like, you're not in our club, we like our club, not your club, and has nothing to do with actual philosophical differences. Because if people want to argue that, like I said, go to it, that's fine. So you get these groups of just bitter little assholes, pardon my French, and what they focus on is slander and character assassination instead of actual argument or disagreeing with something. Now, there's a bunch of different versions of this. Often if somebody falls for something and I disagree with it, they don't just argue about the thing, they get mad at me and personally attack me for disagreeing. Like, instead of responding to the disagreement, I can't not mention the friggin' flat earthers in this. The number of people who failed basic geometry, failed basic physics, can't apply basic logic to obvious evidence, and so they fell for the BS that the earth is flat. And a bunch of them, instead of just saying I'm wrong and arguing against that, which, I mean, you can, good luck. But doing that at least would make sense if you think I'm factually wrong. But a huge number of them and I'm sure you've seen this, immediately jump to, you're a NASA shill, you must be paid by that, because I didn't flunk geometry. So they have to jump to impugning motives because they can't actually argue their position because their position is stupid. So they go to the personal attack. Again, it's the totally juvenile, childish approach because that's their level of mentality. And it's, you should notice which people have that mentality and the sort of things they believe. But it certainly isn't just flat earth. Like if somebody comes out and like, well, I think UBI would be good. I'm an anarchist, but I think universal basic income, and I point out why it's stupid. Some people will argue about the issue, and some people immediately get all huffy, get mad at me, call me names, attack me personally, insult me personally in ways that have nothing to do with the thing we were just debating, and then run off to their group of fellow whiners and go, we hate him. And I see that a ton. Well, I see it mostly secondhand, like I said, from a bunch of people who see that stuff going on and get back to me. It's like, why are there so many people who hate? Like, I tried to dig in to see if there's some substance. Like, did you used to, like, kick puppies in a former life or something? So I'm asking these people, why are you so just zealously frothing at the mouth, hateful at Larkin? And I can't even count the number of people who've said almost exactly that to me and said they don't even say anything. Like, they can't come up with a reason. It's weird. Yes, it's weird. And you have to understand the psychology of people who function that way and how destructive they can be, because that brings up the concept of slander and gossip. Because one of the ways, I mean, again, high school mentality or grade school mentality. I'm going to start a rumor about her because I don't like her. I'm going to be like, how frickin' juvenile. But they do that because it works, because a bunch of other bitter people are happy to believe gossip and slander and go, oh yeah, I'm going to tell everybody I know. You said it, it must be true. Because random gossip from people who randomly hate some other person is like the most reliable source of information there can be, right? Never mind checking if it's at all true. And on the Rose Channel version of this, I'll get into more of the details. But it's just the mentality is just so stupid. And the people who immediately want to go, you're controlled opposition because, and they'll also do it because there's some conspiracy thing. Like a lot of people who aren't good at critical thinking, they seem to be in a contest to see who can believe the most outlandish conspiracies. And whoever believes the most outlandish garbage wins. And if I say, yeah, that's totally false, like there's plenty of evil stuff that power-happy psychos conspire to do, but there's also a bunch of stuff that, no, that's not how anything works. And those people who fall for that, again, there's such a low mentality and such a low intellectual understanding of anything. They are so quick to jump to, you're controlled opposition. Instead of actually responding to what I said or trying to prove their point, they jump right to, you must be a bad person and you're secretly trying to hide the truth. Like, you jump to that instead of discussing substance because you don't know anything. You suck at thinking, and therefore you suck at debating. And it comes out in so many weird ways. Of course, when I bash Biden, the leftists assume I support Trump, and when I bash Trump, the conservatives assume I support Biden, because they can't think beyond that. Well, there's the same thing within the movement, where if I have a position, well, then you must be. And it doesn't matter how many times I point out, no, I must not be. Like, you're a shill for Israel. Like, I bash the ruling class of Israel on a regular basis for the evil crap they do. Just like I bash the ruling class of the U.S. and their militaristic, warmongering psychopathy on a regular basis because of the evil stuff they do. But when somebody says, it's the Jews to blame, I point out how stupid that is and how pack mentality lazy it is to blame a demographic category for they're the source of evil. And I explain a million times why it's just as dumb as saying the men are to blame. Like, the vast majority of tyrants have been men. Are you going to blame the men? Why not? Because it's stupid. So if you say, yeah, but look at all these people in power who are Jewish, okay? Look at all the people not in power who are Jewish. Look at all the voluntarists I know who are Jewish. So to say the Jews are to blame is lazy and stupid. And the thing is, when I point that out, a lot of these just low mentality twits will jump to the person of, you're just a shill for Israel, which is just the dumbest. Or you're a shill for you being a good goyim, defending the Jews. It's just so stupid. But they can't even stay in the discussion of what the actual topic is. They have to jump to personal attacks and insults, including just making crap up to justify it. And the result of them spreading this crap is that lots of other people, wherever they are on the political spectrum, get a false impression about, like, what I believe and what I say, which would be a brilliant propaganda trick of the state to have people pretending to be pro-freedom, mischaracterizing what it is I say and what I do and what I believe, to muddy the waters so more people out there aren't likely to listen to me. The sad thing is, I think hardly any of it, if any at all, is actually controlled opposition. I think they're just mentally unstable, juvenile idiots who imagine themselves to be pro-freedom and do a great job of sabotaging the ideas I'm trying to spread by misrepresenting them, by attacking the messenger, by doing the slander thing. Because too many people, if they hear something bad about the messenger, first of all, they don't check to see if it's true, and second of all, they will attribute that to the message as if, well, the message must be wrong because I heard something bad about the guy saying it. Like, well, if Charles Manson said 2 + 2 = 4, it still does, even though he's not a swell guy. So it's kind of ridiculous. So I don't think most of them are at all controlled opposition. They're just dumbasses, just juvenile dumbasses, and there are a lot of them in the movement. And some of them bash me for being rich, which I'm not. Some of them bash me for being poor, which I've been in debt for ages since my adventures with the federal extortion racket. But either way, the goal is to attack me and tear me down personally. Like, for what? Because you can't substantively respond to what I'm actually saying. And so they make up all sorts. I've heard huge numbers of the weirdest claims, including like, Larkin, he's a multimillionaire, so he doesn't know what it's. I'm a zero heir. I'm a negative heir. I'm still in debt and have been since I was caged in 2006. But they just make stuff up as a reason for other idiots who aren't going to bother looking it up or checking to hate me and therefore not listen to me. And that's their goal. It's just like the whiny brats in high school or something, spreading rumors about each other with the goal of, we're going to make people not like them, but like our group. It's like, that really, that's your level of mentality. And a ton of people, like I said, will just blindly believe the slander and repeat it. That's the thing of gossip. Like, that's why it's destructive, and a bunch of people do it because they like feeling superior. Oh, did you hear that so-and-so did this? I'm going to go tell everybody. Well, do you know if it's actually true? No, but I don't care because it's fun to spread gossip around. And so there's lots of people who do that. The message is what matters. I don't care if people like me personally. I don't care if people have complaints about me personally. If somebody wants to actually debate the message and the principles, fine. That's like good. That's a good thing. Including complete statists. I like talking to statists because without the back and forth and exchange of ideas, like, they're not going to reconsider anything. So it's not like nobody's allowed to disagree. And I see a bunch of these obnoxious trolls being just complete assholes, whether it's on comments under YouTube, just throwing out troll noise that's irrelevant, or on Facebook, and then I delete and block them because, like, you're not adding anything to the actual discussion of principles. You're just having tantrums at me in the equivalent of my living room. So you're blocked and deleted. And constantly they run out and publicly go, I was blocked by LarkenRose because I disagreed with him. No, that has never happened. I've never blocked anybody for disagreeing with me. I've blocked people for being obnoxious assholes. I've blocked people for throwing out irrelevant spam and piling on things that had nothing to do with what they're posting it under. And spreading slander and just generally being jerks. The idea that I block people for disagreeing with me is just stupid, but the bitter little whiny twits love to play victim. Oh, he's so mean because he blocked me after I put 50 demented, perverted comments under the... So, it's weird dealing with that and having that come from the freedom movement. And I think that's why it's so important for people to learn how to exercise freedom of disassociation, because these people aren't just being obnoxious noise that's going to be annoying for you. They're going to get in the way of the rest of the world hearing the message and understanding the message. If new people come along and say, oh, what's this voluntaryism thing about? And what they see is idiotic, bratty, obnoxious, gossipy, toxic pieces of crap throwing shit at each other. Like, if somebody from, some normal person comes in and sees that, you think they're going to go, this is the sort of people I want to associate with. I wonder what they have to say. No, they're going to go, ugh, whatever that is, I don't want that. I'm going the other way. So, yeah, I'm now pretty quick to block and delete people who are just throwing out troll noise. And, like, you can have your troll noise on your page, like I explained a million times. Like, my Facebook page, my YouTube channel is basically like my living room. Hey, you're censoring me. No, you can say your stupid crap on your own page, in your own house. I don't have an obligation to let you come into my living room and make up stupid crap and have a tantrum at me. Go do it somewhere else. It's not censorship, dumbasses. Anyway, so I'll end the YouTube version of this here, but I'll pick it up and get into more detail in the Rose channel version. But it's important for people who care about freedom to understand why this dynamic happens, and to understand we really need to just stomp it down and shut it up when it's people who aren't adding anything to the discussion. Like, if someone adds disagreement, cool, let's have a back and forth. But if they just add obnoxious troll noise and gossip and slander, just go away. You're doing less than no good. You're sabotaging the message better than the statists do. So yeah, shut up and go away. So, and there's no better example of that than the people who comment under like BitChute when my videos get posted there and stuff. It's just, it gets ridiculous. And that's what happens when people have anonymity and they know they can be complete assholes because nobody can see their faces and nobody knows their names, so they can be complete jerks. And nobody can take the thing down because it's a open forum that it's not my page, so it's just there. It's blockchain stuff. So anyway, that's enough to finish off the YouTube version. And if you want to hear the longer version with more of the obnoxiously gross, juicy details, you can go to the Rose channel and sign up there. But that's all for now. Yeehaw.